Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem, a postmortem of my Blitz game number 261. I was black here, and I was checking out a new defense for black, new to me. I played it occasionally, but never for this channel before. Knight f6, Alekhine's defense, just immediately counterattacking the pawn in the center. If we back up, we can see that this is the fifth or sixth most popular choice. So we have e5, c5 Sicilian, e5, e6 French, c6 Caracan, d6 Pirtz, and knight f6 Alekhine. And there's also g6 and d5. I've played d5 before as well on this channel, the Scandinavian or center counter. But this game went with knight f6. My opponent played e5, the normal move, and knight d5. It's funny that knight g8 is a possible move here. Oh, I'm keeping the chess engine off, by the way, because there's some tactical quizzes I want to ask later on in this video, so don't want the engine giving away the answer, but I'll report on what the engine has to say. So the most common move here is d4, but c4, played right away, is a respectable alternative. The knight goes to b6. And now c5 is a bit unusual. You can play d4 here and get back into the main lines. A lot of times the four pawns attack with f4, and d4 is kind of the more aggressive way to play this. And the other way you can play is just develop a piece here after d4 and wait for black to play this move d6 and just exchange it. And that's sort of a quieter way to play it, but with the enduring advantage for white. But my opponent pushed on with c5 immediately. So since I have never played, well, I don't often play the Alekhine as black. I play it as white, but I don't play this move. So I've never seen this position before, and I wasn't sure it was even in the opening book, but it was. Apparently, it's a respectable line. And now the main moves here are just developing a knight, once again challenging this piece. So it's, white has gained a lot of time kicking this knight around, and then he wants to just trade it off. And I'm left with nothing to show for all my moves, basically just a piece missing here, and everything else is still at home. And white has these two pawns. On the other hand, black is going to attempt to show that these pawns are maybe overextended and he can get some counterplay against them. The other move here would be bishop to c4. Also just asking this knight what he's doing there. But in that case, the knight would probably be supported with a move like e6, and then d6 to follow to challenge the center. After d4, white sets up this nice little pawn triangle here, and it looks like my move here should be to immediately undermine it with d6. I went ahead and developed another knight first, and then, well, here, might as well look at the notation tab. There's nothing, nothing more in the opening book after this. Knight f3. Very sensible move, and now d6. So this is important to force some exchanges here and try and create some weaknesses in the advanced pawns. If you just develop your pieces and ignore the pawns, what you'll find is that your pieces run out of squares very quickly because white has grabbed all the space on the board, and you can get into big trouble. So you can't just ignore these advanced pawns and go about trying to develop your pieces. You really need to directly try to counter them in some way or other, create a few open lines and some squares for your pieces, or you will get kind of squished. Okay, so he took here. It's all fine. He took this way. Probably it was okay to take in the other direction as well. And then knight c3, just continuing development, and bishop e6, defending the knight. The engine thinks this position is basically about even. It thinks black is pretty much equalized in this line. And then after a few more developing moves, we castle. Black decides to go for this exchange, and maybe black is white. White decides to go for this exchange. And maybe black is actually slightly better after that. He now has the bishop pair. He's got an open file for his rook. And this pawn center is going to get fractured eventually, or black has got enough space that he can work around it in one way or another. So maybe a slight edge for black in this position. Okay, queen a4, coming out here, attacking some of these weaknesses. I have to defend the c-pawn. And bishop g5. and rook fb8. Now what's funny is when I looked at this with the chess engine, this was actually the engine's actual choice. Its first choice was this move. Seems like a bit of a strange move, but I don't want to move the a rook because it's defending the a pawn. And the rook on the b file attacks this weak pawn here, and it also threatens just to chase the queen back. So it's actually a good move. It just looks a little funny. And white also plays the computer recommended move there, just exchanging off the bishop. And now I have to take back with the knight because my c pawn is still under attack, and I haven't had time to play this move, rook to b5. So I just thought it was interesting, that little sequence there, which I wasn't sure about during the game, was actually computer approved as best moves for both sides. Okay, so still slight edge for black in this position. We continue. b3 to relieve his queen of the burden of having to support that pawn. And then bishop g4, just trying to cancel that. Bishop g4, just trying to put some pressure on the knight, maybe disorder white's pawn structure. White throws in the move e takes d6, and I just recaptured automatically. But in this position, there's actually a much better move for black than the automatic recapture. So this is your first tactical quiz. What would you play here as black? Okay, and also try and work out the follow-up too. So why don't you pause the video if you want some time to think about it. I'm going to give the answer away. Right here, the move bishop takes f3 is really strong. You know, he can try and take here, I suppose. I didn't actually look at that, but there is this immediate checkmate threat here. So that probably buys enough time. The computer recommended response here is to take. And then the queen comes in, to be followed by knight to h4. And this is just really strong. The computer's recommending moves like, say, queen here. Knight here threatens checkmate. So moving the moving the f pawn so the queen can defend against checkmate. Then look at this, knight here check, and the king has no squares. He can't come here because of the queen. If he goes here, that's checkmate. So can't play that. So queen takes knight is forced, and so white is just winning. So that is the way to play it in this position. It's interesting, yeah. White had just played this move, e takes d6, and I just did the automatic recapture without thinking about it. After c takes d6, he moves his knight to g5, and that opportunity is gone. So that's just, it only occurred on that one move. I had the chance to win the game right there. So you always need to be alert for things like that. That's one of those chess rules. Stay alert. Okay, so I bring my rook back to the center. It was no longer doing much on the g file. f3 to kick my bishop. Go to f5, hitting his queen. Queen comes to, not there, cancel that, queen comes to d2, and h6 kicking the knight, and it goes to e4. So these are all pretty normal moves, reasonable play from both sides. I try to get the other rook active. I'm kind of keeping these pawns back because I'm not sure whether I want to play d5 or c5 to break up the pawn center here. If we back up a few moves, I think in this position, the chess engine was recommending d5. I guess d5 here is useful because it takes away the square from the knight. So the knight could get forced back to h3. So d5 here might have been a good idea. Okay, but I didn't play that. We went down this path. And he retreated his knight to g3, which is a decent square for the knight. Kicks my bishop back. I didn't want to trade the bishop off. And then he plays d5 and sort of forces this trade anyway. I didn't want to leave the knight on this strong outpost, so I took queen takes. And now I'll play rook e5, chasing his queen away. So, okay, so far, still maybe a slight edge for black. Queen drops back. But right here, I play a couple of weak moves. So the engine recommendation here is, let's see, I played rook c to rook c to e8, doubling the rooks, which I thought was good, but the knight is covering this invasion point, and this pawn is weak. So the engine has other ideas here. It says maybe knight e7 here to prepare for the push d5 and supported by the knight, and then maybe the rooks belong more on the c file than the e file, so possibly bringing this rook over here in conjunction with knight e7 is a better plan than what I played. So I doubled on the e file. He played rook a d1 going after this pawn, and I played the move d5, which is a second mistake. Now I really needed to do something active here, like rook a8 and just rook a5 going after a2 and just give up this pawn on d6. But instead I played the move d5, which just fails to a tactic which my opponent missed. So here's another tactical quiz for you. What does white play here? I think I mentioned this during the game, so if you saw the game, this won't be a mystery. But he can play the move f4. It's a good move. There's just no there's just no square for the knight, for the rook. These squares are covered by the knight, and these squares are covered by the pawn. So the rook just has to move away, and white can grab that pawn with no repercussion. So white would just be winning. Fortunately for me, my opponent didn't play f4. He played knight e4. Kind of a tricky move, taking advantage of this pin on the pawn. So I can't really take the knight. But I just unpin with the queen, and now he moves the knight again. The engine actually is recommending just moving the knight. The knight back to g3 is the best move here. But he kept coming forward with the knight, which is, kind of natural. And now I can invade with the rooks. And at this point, the advantage has swung in favor of black once again. So it was white had the edge for a little bit when I made those missteps regarding the defense of the d pawn. But now black is once again winning. So knight d3, or has the edge. It's not totally winning just yet. I think after this move, knight f4, now there's a decisive advantage. It's pretty good just getting your rook here. And then this exchange kind of gets the queen out of play. And rather than grabbing on a2, I could just invade with the queen right here. Maybe it'd be a little quicker. Move 30. Actually, let's back up. It was on move 30 right here when I played a5. Right here I had the opportunity to play queen c2 instead, and that the engine recommends that as the strongest way to play. But after knight f4 in the exchange, I'm once again winning. So I take the pawn on a2. He plays rook a1. And one more. This is your last tactical quiz for this video. What's a good move for black here? Okay, pause the video if you want some time to think about it. There's first of all, you have to notice that my knight is hanging. So whatever tactic I play, I have to come up with a defense of that knight. What I played in the game was just a simple defense here, but there's a much cleverer way to defend it, which is, okay, I'm going to give the answer away now. Queen to b6 check. So that forks the king and the pawn on b3. So say the king moves. Yeah, I think the king has to move. If he blocks with the rook, I'll take his other rook. Then I grab the pawn. So not only have I won a pawn, but the queen defends the rook there. So another example of where I played the automatic move, just rook here, which is what I wanted to play anyway, getting my pieces on the 7th rank, defending my rook. And it's still winning, but this trick with the queen would have been a much cleaner win. So he exchanges the rooks, and it checks me, and now I get my queen onto the 7th rank. So this time I have to give myself credit. After I gave myself a hard time before, I didn't do the automatic recapture. I ignored the pawn and went for the checkmate threat, which is much stronger. And now white is just completely, black is just completely winning here. He played queen g3, the only move to defend the pawn. And then I grab here, and there's just no way of stopping this. I said during the game that maybe white should play on, trying to get some tricks with the queen, but having looked at this in the postmortem and with the help of the chess engine, this is just completely winning, and there's no way for white to do anything because he's so tied down by the checkmate threat. So if, for example, I guess, after, if he plays here, I can just take everything off. And the pawn is quicker than the king. The square, the pawn is here, and he can't step into it. So just winning advantage, easily winning advantage. There's no move for white here, really. So the game ended at this point. My opponent resigned, and that's how it went. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.